In the vast expanse of the Orion Arm, the Vex Collective had built an empire spanning 17 star systems through one simple methodology: meticulous research before invasion. Their process was clinical, efficient, and historically foolproof. Study a species, identify their weaknesses, exploit said weaknesses, add new resources to the collective, rinse and repeat. Species 4291 shows remarkable resilience to atmospheric variations. Dr. Krill dictated into his neural recorder, his 4 spindly appendages manipulating the holographic display before him. 3 of his 7 eyes focused on the data, while the others scanned surrounding screens. However, their exoskeletons proved susceptible to our standard alkaline dissolving agent. Invasion successful, casualties minimal, recommended classification, resource world. Dr. Krill felt a surge of pride. In his 300 cycles as chief xenobiologist for the collective's expansion division, he'd never miscategorized a planet. His preliminary assessments had saved countless Vex lives and resources. The High Council had even named an asteroid belt after him. A small honor, but gratifying nonetheless. A notification pulsed on his primary screen: priority directive, assessment required. Computer, display assessment target, Krill commanded, his voice carrying the slightly nasal tone all Vex shared. The central hologram shifted, revealing a blue-green planet orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. Species designation: humans. Planet designation: Earth. Threat assessment required before invasion planning can commence. Krill's membrane ridges raised in surprise. Earth. The transmission world. This is unexpected. He'd heard of this planet, everyone in the scientific community had. For decades, the primitive species had been broadcasting their activities across space with reckless abandon: entertainment signals, data transmissions, communication bursts. The collective had been passively collecting this information, considering the planet too distant for immediate interest. Computer, summarize current intelligence on humans. Humans appear to be soft-bodied bipeds with limited natural defenses. They lack significant claws or fangs, possess no natural armor, and have demonstrated no telepathic abilities. Their planet exhibits extreme climate variations from freezing to desert conditions. Despite significant technological advancement in the past century, they remain pre-FTL. Primary advantage appears to be reproductive rate and adaptability to varying environments. Krill flicked through the visual database: humans fighting, humans building, humans in various environmental conditions. So soft, so vulnerable, yet something about them nagged at his scientific intuition. Computer, how can a species with such obvious biological disadvantages become the dominant life form on their planet? Insufficient data for comprehensive analysis. Recommendation: obtain live specimens for detailed study. Admiral Zog entered the laboratory, his military exoskeleton gleaming under the artificial lights. Dr. Krill, the High Council is impatient for your assessment. Earth sits on a wealth of resources we could use for the next phase of expansion. Science cannot be rushed, Admiral, Krill replied, his membrane ridges fluttering in irritation, especially with a species we know so little about. The Council has already allocated resources for this invasion. Your job is to find the most efficient method, not to question whether we should proceed. The Admiral's tone left no room for debate. Krill's central eye narrowed. Then I request permission to abduct and study multiple specimens before finalizing my assessment. You'll get 1 specimen, Doctor. Make it count. With that, Admiral Zog turned and left, the doors sliding shut behind him with a hiss that somehow sounded smug. Krill turned back to the holographic display of Earth. 1 specimen it is then. Computer, identify an average human for abduction. Nothing special, nothing unusual. I want the most statistically normal example of humanity we can find. Processing request. Target identified: Dave Miller, office worker, Chicago, Earth. Genetic profile suggests no exceptional attributes. Lifestyle indicates statistical normality. Perfect, Krill muttered, initiating the abduction protocol. Let's see what makes these humans tick. Little did Dr. Krill know that statistically normal for humans would prove to be anything but normal by galactic standards. Dave Miller was having a particularly unremarkable Tuesday. He'd hit snooze 3 times, arrived 7 minutes late to work, microwaved a sad frozen burrito for lunch, and spent most of the afternoon pretending to update spreadsheets while actually browsing memes about cats. By 6:30 p.m., he was trudging toward his apartment, mentally calculating if he could afford to order pizza for the 3rd time that week. The blue light that enveloped him came as something of a surprise. What the? Was all Dave managed before he found himself lying on a cold metal table, staring up at a creature that looked like someone had crossbred a praying mantis with an octopus. and then given it way too many eyeballs. Specimen secured, announced an automated voice. Vital signs stable, consciousness maintained. Excellent, said Dr. Krill, leaning over the examination table. Hello Dave Miller, I am Dr. Krill of the Vex Collective. You have been selected for scientific study. Dave blinked several times. Is this about that parking ticket? Because I swear I was only 5 minutes over. This is not about your primitive vehicle storage regulations. Krill interrupted, slightly confused. You are here to help us understand human weaknesses before we invade your planet. Oh, Dave said, processing this information with surprising calm. That's considerably worse than a parking ticket. Dr. Krill was momentarily taken aback by the human's composure. Most species reacted to abduction with either abject terror or violent resistance. This one appeared to be making jokes. Computer, begin basic physiological scan, Krill ordered, deciding to ignore the strange reaction. A green light swept over Dave's body from head to toe. Multiple monitors around the laboratory began displaying data in the Vex language. Interesting, Krill muttered. Your species has an internal skeleton rather than an exoskeleton. Such inefficient protection. Yeah, well, we can't all be walking shellfish, Dave remarked, testing the restraints that held him to the table. They didn't budge. Krill's membrane ridges fluttered in what might have been the Vex equivalent of a frown. Your skeletal structure contains minerals consistent with your planet's crust. Your muscle density is unremarkable, yet. He paused, examining a particular readout more closely. Computer, confirm endocrine analysis. Confirmed. Human specimen produces adrenaline, cortisol, and various other hormones that can temporarily enhance physical capabilities under stress. An emergency response system, Krill noted, genuinely intrigued. Many species have similar adaptations, but yours seems particularly versatile. Dave shrugged as best he could, while restrained. We call it fight or flight, pretty standard stuff. Perhaps on your planet, Krill replied. Computer, proceed with tissue sample collection. A robotic arm extended from the ceiling, bearing a needle that looked distressingly large to Dave. Whoa, do you guys have a concept of consent? Because this is definitely not. Oh, the needle extracted a sample from Dave's arm. Pain response normal, Krill noted, though you vocalize your discomfort more than most species. It's called complaining, Dave said through gritted teeth. We're excellent at it. You should hear my coworker Brenda talk about her ex-husband. Krill ignored the comment, focusing instead on the cellular analysis appearing on his screen. Fascinating. Your DNA repair mechanisms are quite robust for a carbon-based life form. And your immune system, he trailed off, 7 eyes widening simultaneously. What about my immune system? Dave asked, suddenly concerned. I had the flu last month, but I thought I was over it. Your body maintains a record of past pathogens and develops defenses against them, Krill explained, more to himself than to Dave. And your microbiome, you're essentially a walking ecosystem. Thanks, I think. Krill turned to face Dave directly. Tell me, human, your planet experiences extreme weather variations, predatory threats and disease outbreaks, correct? Well, yeah, Tuesday in Chicago can be snowing in the morning and humid by afternoon. And don't get me started on mosquitoes. The alien scientist began pacing, all 7 eyes blinking asynchronously. Computer, compare human adaptability markers to species 4291. Human adaptability exceeds species 4291 by approximately 312%. Dr. Krill stopped pacing. That's impossible. Run the comparison again. Analysis confirmed. Human DNA shows evidence of surviving multiple near-extinction events. Genetic markers indicate adaptation to climate change, dietary shifts and exposure to various toxins. Dave lifted his head as much as the restraints would allow. Hey, we've been around a while. We figure things out. Yes, Krill said slowly, his voice taking on a concerned tone. That's precisely what worries me. Computer, begin neurological mapping. I want to understand how these humans think. As a helmet-like device descended toward Dave's head, he sighed. For the record, if you're looking for human weaknesses, you should have abducted me before coffee. I'm useless before coffee. Dr. Krill made a note of this coffee substance for further investigation. Perhaps it was some kind of enhancement drug that humans required for optimal functioning. The more he learned about this supposedly average human, the more questions he had. And in Dr. Krill's 300 cycles of xenobiological research, questions at this stage of assessment had never boded well for an easy invasion. 36 hours into the study, Dr. Krill was beginning to question his 3 centuries of scientific expertise. The human specimen, Dave was proving frustratingly resilient in ways that defied conventional xenobiological classification. Computer, display comparative analysis of bone density across known sentient species, Krill commanded, rubbing his eye stalks in what the Vex equivalent of exhaustion. The holographic display flickered to life, showing a spectrum of skeletal structures from various planets. Humans fell roughly in the middle, not particularly impressive by galactic standards. So our bones are average. Cool story, Dave commented from his examination table, where he was now permitted to sit upright during non-invasive testing phases. Does this mean I can go home soon? I've got plants to water. Your calcium-based endoskeleton is indeed unremarkable, Krill agreed, ignoring the question about release. But your physiological responses to planetary conditions are perplexing. How so? Dave asked, genuinely curious despite his predicament. Krill manipulated the holographic display, bringing up Earth's environmental data. Your planet experiences temperature variations that would kill most species, from freezing polar regions to scorching deserts. Yet humans have colonized virtually every biome. We call it packing different outfits. Dave shrugged. Shorts for summer, parkas for winter. It's not rocket science. It's evolutionary science, Krill corrected. And it's unprecedented. Computer, display human DNA adaptation markers. The display shifted to show human genetic code with certain sequences highlighted. These markers indicate your species has survived multiple planetary catastrophes, Krill explained, his tone mixing scientific fascination with growing concern. Ice ages, volcanic winters, plague outbreaks, meteor impacts, each event should have ended your species. Instead, you adapted. We're stubborn like that, Dave said with a yawn. Are you going to feed me soon? It's been hours, and I'm pretty sure prisoner of alien war counts as high-intensity cardio. Krill ignored the complaint, staring at a particular dataset. Your thermal regulation is especially noteworthy. Humans can survive in temperatures ranging from -40 to +50 degrees in your Celsius scale. With appropriate clothing, Dave clarified. I'm not exactly swimming in Antarctic waters for fun, but you could survive there, Krill pressed. Your species has developed external adaptations, these clothes and buildings, to colonize environments your bodies couldn't naturally endure. Tool use, pretty basic stuff, not basic at all, Krill countered, pulling up comparison data. Most species evolve biological adaptations for specific environments. Humans simply make things to overcome limitations. At that moment, a junior scientist entered the laboratory. Dr. Krill, the toxicology results you requested, the younger Vex said, handing over a data pad. Krill's eyes scanned the information, then widened dramatically. This can't be right. Run the tests again. We already did, sir. 3 times. What's wrong? Dave asked. Did you find something terrible? Please tell me it's not gluten. I just discovered decent gluten-free pizza. Krill looked up from the pad. Your bloodstream contains traces of substances that would be lethal to most carbon-based life forms. Like what? Caffeine, theobromine, various ethanol metabolites, traces of acetyl salicylic acid. Oh, Dave laughed. Coffee, chocolate, beer and aspirin. That's just Tuesday for most humans. You willingly consume neurotoxins. Krill's voice raised an octave. We call it having a good time, Dave replied with a grin. You should try chocolate before you invade. Might make you reconsider. Krill turned to his assistant. Add this to the report. Humans routinely ingest substances that would kill lesser species for the enjoyment. Don't forget capsaicin, Dave added helpfully. That's the spicy stuff in peppers. Plants evolved it specifically to prevent animals from eating them. We decided it makes food taste better. Krill stared at Dave for a long moment. Your species deliberately consumes plant defense toxins, for pleasure. Have you ever had buffalo wings? Worth the pain. The junior scientist made frantic notes while Krill turned to yet another display. Computer, display psychological test results. The screen showed wave patterns of Dave's brain activity during various stimuli tests. Even more concerning than your physical adaptations is your psychological resilience. Krill said, we've subjected you to fear stimuli that would traumatize most sentient beings. You mean those horror movie clips? Dave snorted. That's entertainment where I'm from. The one with the clown was pretty good though. Solid jump scare. You found simulations of predator attacks. Entertaining. We pay good money to be scared in safe environments, Dave explained. Helps us process actual trauma, or so my therapist says. Krill's membrane ridges fluttered in disbelief. You deliberately seek out fear responses as a form of recreation. Wait until you hear about roller coasters, Dave said with a smirk. We also strap ourselves into metal carts and hurtle down steep tracks at high speeds while screaming. The junior scientist dropped his data pad. For defense training, Krill asked hesitantly. Nope, fun, just fun. Krill turned to his assistant. Add to the report, humans appear to have weaponized their own fear responses into recreational activities. He faced Dave again. Your species continually confounds me. You should be huddled in caves, yet you've built civilizations in impossible environments. You should fear predators, yet you keep them as pets. You should avoid toxins, yet you consume them voluntarily. We're full of surprises, Dave agreed. Speaking of which, how much longer am I staying here? Because if this is going to be extended, I'd like to request Netflix access. I'm halfway through a baking competition show, and I need to know who gets eliminated next. Krill's 7 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep Vex confusion. You're being held captive by an alien species planning to invade your planet, and you're concerned about cooking entertainment. Multitasking, Dave replied, tapping his temple. Humans are good at that too. I can worry about alien invasion and get invested in whether Brenda's soufflé will rise properly. As Krill prepared for the next battery of tests, he couldn't shake a growing suspicion this supposedly average human was demonstrating abilities that defied conventional threat assessment. If Dave Miller was truly representative of humanity, the Vex Collective might need to reconsider their invasion strategy entirely. Unfortunately, Admiral Zog was not known for his patience or scientific curiosity, and the deadline for Krill's assessment was fast approaching. On the 4th day of captivity, Dave Miller had established something resembling a routine: wake up on the uncomfortably hard examination table, make sarcastic comments during the morning tests, eat the bland nutritional supplements the aliens provided, and spend the afternoon trying to convince Dr. Krill that invading Earth was a spectacularly bad idea. Look, Dave explained while electrodes monitored his brain activity, I'm just saying you should reconsider. Humans don't respond well to being conquered. We have entire holidays celebrating the times we kicked out would-be oppressors. Your species' historical resistance to invasion from other humans is noted, Dr. Krill replied, adjusting some settings on his monitoring equipment. However, the technological gap between our civilization and yours is substantial. So was the gap between the British Empire and some American farmers with muskets, Dave countered. Didn't work out great for the guys with the superior technology. Krill's membrane ridges fluttered dismissively. The Vex Collective has conquered 17 star systems. Your comparison to primitive human conflicts is hardly relevant. Have you ever seen what happens when you corner a human? Dave asked. We get creative. Before Krill could respond, the laboratory doors slid open with a mechanical hiss. Admiral Zog strode in, his military exoskeleton clicking against the metallic floor. Dr. Krill, the Admiral's voice boomed. Your assessment period ends tomorrow. The invasion fleet awaits your report on the optimal approach for conquering Earth. Krill's posture stiffened. Admiral, I've been attempting to explain that my findings so far suggest caution. The humans display several concerning traits that, concerning, Admiral Zog interrupted. They're pre-FTL bipeds with no natural weapons. What could possibly be concerning? Actually, Dave chimed in, we've got nuclear weapons, biological warfare capabilities, and teenagers with internet access. I'd say that's pretty concerning. Admiral Zog turned all 6 of his eyes toward Dave. Is the specimen supposed to be unrestrained during testing? The human has shown no aggressive tendencies, Krill explained, and the mobility allows for more comprehensive testing of motor functions. Besides, Dave added, where would I go? We're in space, right? Not exactly like I can catch the bus home. The Admiral made a dismissive gesture with one appendage. Dr. Krill, the High Council grows impatient. Resources have been allocated. The invasion will proceed as scheduled regardless of your scientific hesitations. With respect, Admiral, Krill insisted, my preliminary findings suggest humans may be more resilient than anticipated. Their adaptive capabilities exceed any species we've encountered. They're soft-bodied creatures from a single planet, Zog scoffed. The collective has conquered silicon-based hive minds and methane-breathing gas giants. What challenge could these humans possibly present? Dave cleared his throat. We survived an ice age with pointy sticks and animal hides. Just saying. The Admiral ignored him. Dr. Krill, I expect your final report, with invasion recommendations by tomorrow's first cycle. The fleet moves whether you're ready or not. With that, he turned and marched out, leaving the laboratory in tense silence. Your military guy seems nice, Dave remarked dryly. Real open-minded type. Krill's eyes focused on various data screens, his movements betraying agitation. The Admiral fails to understand the implications of my research. Your species represents an anomaly in our classification system. How so? Most species evolved to survive in their specific environment, Krill explained, pulling up comparative data. The Vex adapted to our high methane homeworld. The Zoltar developed silicon-based physiology for their volcanic planet, but humans, we adapt the environment to us, not the other way around, Dave finished. Precisely, and it's not just your physical adaptability that concerns me. Krill manipulated the display to show psychological test results. Your mental resilience is equally unprecedented. Dave shrugged. We've had practice. Our own history is full of people trying to conquer other people. We're basically a species that spent thousands of years preparing for alien invasion without knowing it. Krill's membrane ridges drooped, the Vex equivalent of a frown. Admiral Zog won't listen to reason. The invasion will proceed, and the collective may face unexpected resistance. Well, Dave said casually, that's a shame. I was starting to like you, Doc. You're the curious type. Your buddy the Admiral though, he reminds me of every bad boss I've ever had. Krill turned away to analyze another dataset, leaving Dave momentarily unobserved. In that brief window, Dave's hand slipped into the pocket of his jeans, which the aliens had allowed him to keep wearing, and extracted a small metal object he'd pried loose from the underside of an examination table during a previous test. 3 hours later, during what Dave had calculated was the night cycle based on reduced staff activity, the emergency alarms blared throughout the research vessel. Security breach in Laboratory 7, an automated voice announced. All personnel report to emergency stations. Dr. Krill rushed into the laboratory to find the examination table empty, restraints neatly deactivated, and various monitoring devices disabled. Computer, locate human specimen, Krill demanded. Human life signs detected in ventilation system section 42B, moving toward hangar bay. Krill's eyes widened in shock. How did he? Computer, analyze method of escape. Preliminary analysis indicates manipulation of security protocols, using repurposed medical equipment components. Security system interpreted human presence as authorized personnel. That's impossible, Krill whispered. He has no knowledge of our technology. Correction, the computer replied. Human specimens spent 92.7% of observation periods studying laboratory equipment, while appearing to engage in casual conversation. In the ventilation shaft, Dave Army crawled through the cramped space, mentally thanking his childhood obsession with die-hard movies. Yippee-ki-yay alien motherfuckers, he muttered, following the increasing air current that he hoped led to a ship's exit. Back in the laboratory, Admiral Zog stormed in, military exoskeleton at full combat readiness. Where is the human? He demanded. Attempting to escape, Krill admitted. But that's not our primary concern, Admiral. The fact that a supposedly average human could understand and manipulate our technology so quickly proves my point about their adaptability. It proves nothing except your incompetence, Zog raged. One primitive creature outwitting your security doesn't change the invasion plan. But it should, Krill insisted, displaying the data he'd been analyzing. If one unremarkable human can adapt this quickly to alien technology, imagine what billions of them might do when threatened with extinction. A security officer burst into the laboratory. Admiral, the human has been recaptured attempting to access the shuttle bay. Bring him here, Zog ordered. Minutes later, 2 guards dragged a disheveled but remarkably unrepentant Dave back into the laboratory. Worth a shot, Dave said with a shrug, as they secured him back to the examination table. You see, Dr. Krill, Admiral Zog said triumphantly. Your concerns are overblown. The human was easily recaptured. After nearly hijacking a shuttle with technology he'd never seen before, Krill pointed out. Using makeshift tools fashioned from medical equipment. Actually, Dave interjected, I also memorized about 60 access codes while pretending to be asleep. Your number pad tones are very distinctive. Might want to look into that before trying to invade a planet of people who solve puzzles for fun. Admiral Zog turned all 6 eyes toward Dave. You expect me to believe a primitive creature could? Alpha 79 Epsilon 12 Delta, Dave recited calmly. That's the code for the weapons locker in Section 5. I heard one of your guards punch it in yesterday. The Admiral's exoskeleton clicked as he stepped back in surprise. Security, change all access codes immediately. See, Admiral, Krill said quietly. 1 human, 4 days of observation, and he's already learning to undermine our systems. Now imagine billions of humans with their backs against the wall. Zog's appendages twitched in agitation. It changes nothing. The invasion proceeds as scheduled. Your job is to find their weaknesses, not marvel at their primitive cleverness. He turned toward the exit. The fleet launches in 12 hours. I suggest you complete your assessment, Dr. Krill. As the Admiral left, Dave glanced at the visibly troubled scientist. So, sounds like you guys are pretty committed to this invasion thing, huh? It appears so, Krill replied, his tone heavy with foreboding. That's too bad, Dave said, because I wasn't kidding about humans getting creative when cornered. Dr. Krill looked at the seemingly ordinary human strapped to the examination table and felt something he'd never experienced in 300 cycles of xenobiological research: dread. The Vex invasion fleet emerged from hyperspace in Earth's solar system with the confidence of a civilization that had conquered 17 star systems. 500 warships arranged in perfect formation, weapon systems primed, communication jammers activated. The assault should have been textbook, the same efficient process they'd executed across the galaxy. Dr. Krill stood on the bridge of the command ship beside Admiral Zog, watching the blue-green planet grow larger on the view screen. His final assessment report, filled with warnings and caveats, had been submitted, reviewed, and summarily dismissed by Vex High Command. Witness history, Dr. Krill, Admiral Zog announced, his exoskeleton gleaming under the bridge lights. In 12 hours, Earth will be the 18th jewel in the Collective's crown. You've read my report? Krill asked, knowing the answer. I skimmed it, Zog replied dismissively. Your concerns are noted but unnecessary. Our technological superiority ensures victory. My assessment clearly stated that technological superiority may not be sufficient against this species. Krill's membrane ridges fluttered in agitation. Humans demonstrate unusual problem-solving capabilities when cornered. Yes, Zog interrupted. So you've said repeatedly. Yet I see a primitive world with primitive defenses. Their satellite network has already been neutralized. Their communications jammed. They don't even know we're here yet. As if on cue, the tactical officer called out, Admiral, we're detecting multiple launches from the planet's surface. They're nuclear weapons, Zog asked, mandibles twitching in what passed for a Vex smile. As expected, our shields can easily. No sir, the officer interrupted. They appear to be small craft, thousands of them, launching from multiple continents. Krill moved to a monitoring station. They've detected us despite the jammers. How? Unknown sir, but the human craft are accelerating toward our fleet at significant velocity. Admiral Zog made a dismissive gesture. Primitive suicide attacks, predictable but futile. Activate point defense systems, standard containment protocol. On the view screen, Earth's response became visible, swarms of small craft rising from the atmosphere like angry insects from a disturbed hive. Admiral, the weapons officer called out, the human vessels are deploying some kind of, the translation is chaff. Our targeting systems are experiencing interference. Impossible, Zog snapped. Their level of technology couldn't possibly. Sir, another officer interrupted. The humans are broadcasting on all frequencies. They've broken our communication jamming. The bridge speakers crackled to life with a human voice. Attention alien vessels. This is General Catherine Hayes of Earth United Defense. Your presence in our solar system constitutes an act of war. We have been monitoring your activities, including the abduction of civilians. You have 5 minutes to withdraw, or face consequences. A stunned silence fell over the bridge. How did they detect us? Zog demanded. How did they break our jamming technology? Krill's eyes focused on the tactical displays. They've been watching us. The human, Dave Miller, his abduction wasn't their first contact with our technology. Impossible, Zog insisted. We would have known if the 5 minutes has elapsed, the communications officer announced. The humans are transmitting again. We warned you, General Hayes' voice declared. Humanity has survived worse than you. Earth Defense Forces, you are cleared to engage. What followed defied every Vex expectation. The human craft, rather than making suicidal runs against the Vex shields, began deploying objects. Thousands upon thousands of small metallic objects. Space debris? Zog asked incredulously. This is their great defense. Krill's scientific instincts flared in alarm. No, Admiral. He never finished the sentence. Across the fleet, Vex ships began reporting system failures as their sensor arrays, designed to detect energy weapons and projectiles, were overwhelmed by the cloud of debris now surrounding them. Sir, the humans are using primitive kinetic weapons, the tactical officer reported, panic evident in his voice. They're firing metal slugs accelerated to extremely high velocities. Our shields are calibrated for energy weapons. Not. The ship shuddered violently. Report, Zog demanded. Hull breach in sections 7 through 12. The humans, they've adapted their weapons specifically to bypass our shield frequencies. On the view screen, Krill watched in horrified fascination as the human strategy became clear. They hadn't attempted to match Vex technology. they'd exploited its weaknesses. While the Vex had developed increasingly sophisticated energy shields to defend against energy weapons, the humans had gone backward, deploying kinetic weapons that passed through those shields with devastating efficiency. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "we're receiving transmissions from multiple Vex vessels. They're reporting similar attacks. The humans are using directed electromagnetic pulses to disable our systems, chemical propellants that our sensors can't properly track, and are those projectiles made of wood, organic materials?" Krill realized aloud. "Our sensors are calibrated to detect metallic and energy threats. They're using materials we wouldn't consider weapons." The bridge rocked again as another impact struck the command ship. "Return fire," Zog ordered. "Target their major population centers." "We can't get a targeting lock through the debris field," the weapons officer replied, "and the human vessels are too small and numerous for our main cannons to track effectively." Krill moved to a console, pulling up his research data. "Admiral, I warned you, humans evolved on a planet where they were neither the strongest nor the fastest predators. They survived by outsmarting threats, not outmatching them." Another violent impact shook the bridge. Warning sirens blared as emergency lighting activated. "Multiple propulsion systems failing," reported an officer. "Human vessels are targeting our engines with surprising precision." On the screen, Krill could see Vex ships drifting, their engines dark, as swarms of smaller human craft surrounded them like predators circling wounded prey. "Admiral," the communications officer said, "the humans are broadcasting again, on all frequencies." "Put it through," Zog ordered, his confidence visibly shaken. "Alien fleet," General Hayes's voice rang out. "Your attack has failed. 27% of your vessels have been disabled. The remainder are surrounded. We are transmitting surrender protocols. You have 5 minutes to respond before we escalate our defense posture." "This is impossible," Zog whispered, his exoskeleton clicking as he trembled. "How could primitives do this?" "Because they're not primitives," Krill replied grimly. "They're survivors. Everything in their evolutionary history prepared them for threats they couldn't initially overcome. While other species evolved biological weapons, humans evolved problem-solving." Zog's appendages twitched in agitation. "The High Council will never accept surrender to a pre-FTL species." "The choice may not be yours to make, Admiral," Krill said, pointing to the view screen where the human vessels were closing in, their improvised but effective weapons ready to deliver another devastating volley. "Sir," the tactical officer reported, "sensors detect human vessels have attached themselves to our disabled ships. They appear to be boarding them." Zog's eyes widened in genuine shock. "They're attempting to capture our technology." "Of course they are," Krill said, a note of resignation in his voice. "That's what humans do. They learn, they adapt, they improve. I tried to tell you, their DNA doesn't just code for biological functions. It contains the legacy of a species that turned every survival challenge into an opportunity for advancement." The ship shuddered again as another impact struck home. "Admiral," the communications officer said, "the translation is uncertain, but the humans appear to be offering terms. They will allow our damaged vessels to withdraw, if we agree to diplomatic negotiations." Zog's mandibles clicked in disbelief. "They're offering mercy, after we attacked their planet." "No," Krill corrected, studying the transmission. "They're being practical. They want to study our technology while minimizing their own casualties." Again, classic human behavior, turning a threat into an opportunity. Admiral Zog stared at the view screen, watching his mighty invasion fleet rendered impotent by a supposedly primitive species. "How did they advance so quickly?" "Our intelligence indicated they were at least a century from developing effective space combat capabilities." "Did you ever consider," Krill said quietly, "that perhaps they were hiding their true capabilities, that perhaps humans have been preparing for this very scenario?" He gestured to the screen. "Look at their response. The coordination, the strategy. This isn't panic, it's execution of a long-established defense plan." The bridge fell silent, as the reality of their situation sank in. The mighty Vex Collective, conquerors of 17 star systems, had just been outmaneuvered by a species they'd dismissed as primitive. "Sir," the communications officer said, hesitantly, "the humans are requesting to speak directly with our leadership. They're sending a representative to negotiate terms." The main view screen shifted to show the interior of a human vessel. Standing in the center of the frame was a familiar figure in a rumpled office shirt. "Hey Doc," Dave Miller said, with a casual wave. "Told you we get creative when cornered." The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with agitated conversation.
representatives from 12 advanced civilizations had gathered for an emergency session, their various appendages, tentacles, and sensory organs all focused on the unprecedented situation before them. Order. The Council Elder, a gaseous entity contained in an ornate hovering sphere, pulsed with bioluminescent light. We will have order in these proceedings. Gradually, the chamber quieted. At the center of the room stood an unlikely diplomatic delegation, Dr. Krill, looking significantly more humble than he had aboard his research vessel, Admiral Zog, whose exoskeleton bore visible repair patches, and Dave Miller, who was munching on what appeared to be alien snacks from the reception area. The Council recognizes Dr. Krill of the Vex Collective, the Elder announced. You may present your report on the incident. Krill stepped forward, membrane ridges flattened in formal deference. Esteemed Council members, I come before you to officially acknowledge the Vex Collective's failed attempt to invade Earth, and to formally recognize humanity as a protected sentient species under galactic accords. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The humans repelled our invasion force of 500 warships using technologies we had classified as primitive, Krill continued. My initial assessment of their capabilities was insufficiently comprehensive. That's diplomat speak for we got our butts kicked, Dave whispered loudly enough for everyone to hear.
Admiral Zog twitched in irritation but remained silent. A representative from the silicon-based crystalline Imperium raised a glittering appendage. How could a pre-FTL species defeat an established spacefaring civilization? Our records indicate humans have barely achieved rudimentary interplanetary travel. An excellent question, Krill replied. As my research now conclusively demonstrates, humanity possesses unique adaptive capabilities. While they had not developed FTL technology, they had been preparing planetary defenses based on recovered alien technology for several decades. Dave stepped forward. Yeah, turns out we weren't the first aliens to visit Earth. We just kept it quiet. Area 51, Roswell, all that conspiracy stuff. Not so conspiracy after all. The council chamber erupted again. Silence. The Elder pulsed. Human representative, are you claiming your species has been reverse engineering alien technology? Technically we prefer the term adaptive repurposing, Dave replied with a grin. But yeah, basically, those UFO sightings weren't just weather balloons. We've been studying crashed alien tech since the 1940s. When the Vex showed up and started abducting people, we were ready. This is most irregular, a tentacled representative gurgled through its translator. A species is not supposed to acquire advanced technology before developing the societal maturity to use it responsibly. With respect, Krill interjected. My research suggests humans may be an exception to conventional development theories. They evolved on what galactic classification would term a death world, a planet with extreme environmental variations, numerous apex predators, and frequent natural disasters. Dave nodded enthusiastically. Earth's basically been trying to kill us since day one. Volcanoes, ice ages, asteroids, murder hornets, reality television, we survive it all. What the human says is accurate, Krill continued. While most species evolve to fit specific environmental niches, humans evolve to adapt to changing conditions. Their DNA contains markers of multiple near-extinction events, each of which they survive through innovative problem-solving rather than biological adaptation. Admiral Zog finally spoke, his voice carrying the bitterness of defeat. The humans didn't outmatch our technology, they exploited its weaknesses. While we developed energy shields against energy weapons, they used simple kinetic projectiles our systems weren't designed to stop. We call it thinking outside the box, Dave added. Or in this case, outside the shield frequency. The Elder's containment sphere pulsed thoughtfully. And now humanity requests formal recognition and diplomatic relations with the Galactic Council. Yes, Dave confirmed. Earth United Defense has authorized me to establish preliminary diplomatic protocols. We're ready to join the galactic community. With some conditions of course, such as, a reptilian delegate hissed. First, no more abductions, Dave said, giving Dr. Krill a pointed look. You want to study humans, you ask nicely and fill out the proper forms in triplicate. Second, technology exchange programs, we've got some ideas your engineers might find interesting. And third, he paused dramatically. Third, the Elder prompted. We insist on bringing our pets. The chamber fell into confused silence. Your pets? Krill asked. Dogs, cats, hamsters, the occasional ferret, Dave explained. Non-negotiable. We've spent thousands of years domesticating them, and we're not leaving them behind. The crystalline representative's facets sparkled in confusion. You wish to bring non-sentient companion species to diplomatic functions. Their family, Dave said with a shrug.
Where we go they go. Krill leaned toward the council, lowering his voice. I should note that humans have managed to domesticate apex predators from their planet. They keep carnivorous hunters in their dwellings and call them good boys. A horrified murmur swept through the chamber. To be fair, Dave added, we also bred some of them to be tiny and fit in purses. We contain multitudes. The Elder's sphere pulsated in what might have been a sigh. The Council will consider humanity's petition for recognition. Until then, a non-aggression pact will be established. No further incursions into human territory will be permitted. Fantastic, Dave said cheerfully. In return, we promise not to unleash our cats on the galaxy. Trust me, that's a win for everyone. As the session concluded, Dr. Krill approached Dave. I wish to apologize for my role in your abduction. My scientific curiosity overrode proper ethical considerations. Water under the bridge, Dave replied. Though I'm still missing those plants I was supposed to water, my neighbor's going to kill me. There is one thing I still don't understand, Krill admitted. Our scans showed you to be completely average, yet you demonstrated remarkable adaptability. Are all humans like you? Dave laughed. That's the thing about humans, Doc. We're all average until we need to not be. Push us into a corner, and suddenly that boring office worker becomes MacGyver with a paperclip and bubblegum. A most unsettling evolutionary strategy, Krill mused. Speaking of evolution, Dave said, I've been meaning to ask, your species scanned human DNA looking for weaknesses, right? Correct, standard invasion protocol. And what did you find instead? Dr. Krill's 7 eyes blinked in sequence, the Vex equivalent of a thoughtful pause. We found weapons, not physical ones, but adaptive traits honed by millennia of survival challenges. Your DNA doesn't just code for biological functions, it carries the legacy of a species that turned every threat into an opportunity for growth. Exactly, Dave said with a grin. So maybe next time, just send an email instead of an invasion fleet. We make better friends than enemies. As they walked toward the chamber exit, Dave casually added, by the way, I'm keeping that shuttle I commandeered. I've already installed cup holders and a decent sound system. But that's advanced Vex technology, Krill protested. Yeah, Dave agreed. And now it's got Bluetooth. Progress, Doc. That's what humans do. Back on Earth, in the headquarters of the secretly established Earth United Defense Force, General Catherine Hayes reviewed the transmission from the Galactic Council. So Miller actually pulled it off, she remarked to her aide. First contact officially established. Yes, ma'am. Humanity is now recognized as a protected species. The invasion threat has been neutralized. Hayes leaned back in her chair, a small smile playing at her lips. And to think, all those centuries preparing for alien contact, and our best defense turned out to be an unremarkable office worker with a talent for sarcasm. Should we reveal the truth to the public now, ma'am, about the alien technology we've been adapting since Roswell? The general considered this for a moment. Not yet, let's wait until the diplomatic relations are more established. For now, let's continue with the plan. She glanced at a monitor showing Earth's newly expanded defense network. After all, the best way to ensure peace is to be thoroughly prepared for war. On the screen, thousands of satellites, a blend of human and reverse-engineered alien technology, orbited protectively around the blue-green planet that had just earned the galaxy's wary respect. Humanity had survived its first official contact with advanced alien life, the same way it had survived everything else the universe had thrown at it, by turning a potential extinction event into an opportunity for advancement. The galaxy would never be the same again, and neither would Dave Miller's apartment, which now featured a small collection of borrowed alien tech that made his entertainment system the envy of the block. Some things, it seemed, were universal.